And we're back with Art to See this weekend number 2. And this weekend we decided to do something kind of different. I decided to see what kind of art was available to go out and see in our immediate neighborhood.
Quite a challenge. I didn't actually leave the house again in order to be able to do this.
We live in an area called Barton Village, and that's in Hamilton, Ontario. And I took a walk through our neighborhood along this line from point A to point B, and those are the things we're talking about.
I could take a moment to point out that we do in fact live in one of the worst postal code regions in Canada, just so folks have a little bit of an impression of where we live.
So here's the church, which is right around the corner from us, and this is where I started off on the walk. And you can see there's a little for sale sign.
Yes, it's the Korean Presbyterian Church.
I'll get to that in a second, but there's a gentleman sitting in the front step, and when I went out to take photographs, it was really, people noticed that I was out taking photographs, and one guy walked by me and said, hey, joining the photo club? Or, you know. And it was interesting.
Well, what is also interesting is that we found out that this huge church is selling for a paltry $500,000 because the Korean Presbyterians, we guess, have decided to move on to higher ground. That is probably the escarpment.
Yes.
That kind of higher ground.
As promised, they're moving to a better land. And so, yeah, even when the church is like, whoa, this place is way too poor for us, you know, things are bad. And there's the beautiful park, Woodlands Park, if you can tell by the woods. It's got a baseball diamond.
Yeah, well, and flanked by the now defunct Siemens factory.
Yeah, that's factory, by the way. Don't be fooled, it's empty. Or maybe there's someone turning on and off light switches, but it's they just closed down recently.
There's a security guard still there defending paper clips and leftover office supplies.
And there's an abandoned, building.
It's the old Westinghouse building.
Yes, and it looks like it was made out of Lego because all the windows are shuttered.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've never thought that before walking by there.
Well, it looks like a giant toy stuck in between some houses, the park, and the Siemens factory. So I took a closer look, and this used to have some windows open. I guess it's used sometimes by police for training, like police and firemen to rappel down the side of the wall.
I thought folks were filming movies. I thought it was variously a movie set, a grow op, a place for cops to meet up in the parking lot and swap Timbits.
So yeah, so it which makes me wonder, because I know the police do hang out there. I've seen them, taking their 15-minute break every 4 hours in there, and in this parking lot. But I've never in my life seen a wooden drain, a wooden covering for a drain. That's
Steeltown ought to be ashamed. Are we going to call it Woodtown now?
I mean, come on! Can't you just go down the street and order one of those? This maybe it got stolen and sold as scrap.
That's actually a very good hypothesis.
So, I mean, if the police are hanging out in this parking lot all the time, maybe they just take note. But that's, I mean, some winter is coming, right? That's going to be covered with snow, and you're going to be walking around and.
It's a medieval stormhole cover.
Ye do not go down thy hole, or thou will despair. I couldn't help but take it. There's some of these artsy shots. I think those are sort of great, sort of ready-made, sort of formal compositions. Make that.
Oh, I like that shot.
Yeah, try to think of it as a large evil fortress, and it becomes more.
They resodded this park after the carnival.
Oh yes, speaking of the carnival, this was the highlight, I guess, of the neighborhood, according to the BIA, and I'll get into the BIA in a second. This was the carnival, and you can see the
a whole lot of planning went into that carnival.
There's still the windows are still showing. Back
oh
then.
Right, yeah, last summer.
I don't know. It was like elves came the night, putting up one shuttered pane at a time. So this was very sad. This was a very sad experience for us to go to this. There was maybe 2 or 3 people, and I wanted to do something in this neighborhood, possibly. So we're better to find out maybe what kind of building or business owners are amenable to that sort of idea than the BIA. So I phoned them.
The BIA is the Business Improvement
Area.
Authority.
That's
area or authority?
Area.
Oh.
Business Improvement Area. It's less than intimidating.
Let me break down that acronym for you that I actually don't know what the answer is.
FYI. They didn't really sort of get back to me. And later I found out it was because they were busy organizing this.
Yeah. 15 hours a week.
It was 15 hours a
went
week.
into planning the
15 hours a
sorry
week
Barton Carnival.
with the staffer there, who's very nice actually, but she says she's got 15 hours a week. So, but here's actually the interesting story. You may not realize it, but European white dudes owned a lot of land early on, and that's basically what this plaque says. So we're starting to get into the neighborhood down Barton here, and this is a very sort of typical front. There's a lot of former businesses that are turned into affordable housing.
Various stages of dilapidation, and lots of impromptu businesses, lots of unlicensed businesses that are very fleeting, like ephemeral businesses.
In the big city, it's called pop-up shops.
Are they called pop-up shops?
Well, I mean, they usually sell things like ice cream or fancy purses, but
or in Hamilton, submarines.
Hamilton, submarines, or things I found at a garage sale.
Yeah, or on the street.
Or on the street. Now, if it seems like we're being harsh, making fun of this area, keep in mind we live here. We chose to buy a house here, so that makes it okay, but not you. You remember there was like the kid show with the talking houses? It was kind of nightmarish.
No.
Well, that's what they kind of look like.
I remember Dr. Snuggles and Barbara Papa.
This is like one of the many sort of like light industrial Barbara Papa kind of like buildings that no one knows what's actually going on or what it's used for. I suspect it's just a big house.
It's a cubist Barbara Papa.
It's very European. This is the fortress-like fire station, and it's a bunker more than anything. But what I was really impressed by was the 911 emergency assistance information. So, by the way, we have 911 now.
But when it's not autumn and the trees are full of foliage, you actually can't see what number to call for emergency assistance.
That's right. So,
so let's hope there aren't any fall emergencies.
I'm telling you, these are signs they received when 911 was first activated 20 years ago. And they stuck it in the window, and they haven't taken it out since. And
that kind of speaks to the aesthetics of this neighborhood as a whole. It's sort of 30 to 40 years behind schedule.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
In a time warp.
There's like an archaeology of uses and sort of treatments sort of going on. An art professor tell me that you can only really sort of judge the architecture of an area by looking at the roofs, because this area is always so cluttered. And I mean, this is the local entrepreneur's office. I like to call it. So here's a public telephone booth. So would you like to make a call? No, thank you.
Not without surgical gloves.
Maybe with my dialing wand. But there's like these highly sort of cosmetic kind of attempts, and one of them is these. I guess you can't really tell, but these are huge. Especially this one right here is a huge, like, stylish, street sign. That I don't know what I mean. Or Western, kind of like neo-Western kind of sign. Or?
I have no idea. I mean, I think that probably happened around the same time as the planters and the banners that were also
which are coming
cosmetic upgrades to the neighborhood, perhaps anticipating a shift that never happened or has yet to happen.
Yeah. Well, there's that building again. And speaking of those things from 20, 30, 40 years ago, this is from I guess they never took this down from a previous business that must have been there, but they sold color TV, stereo, radio, and tape. So I mean, I like the sort of the artsy formal composition of some of these shuttered storefronts.
Yeah.
That one's padlock, and this is an actual working door as well, but I guess they value their privacy. There's a lot of like sort of looks like there could have been or is or maybe construction going on, but perhaps not at the place where all this garbage is.
Yeah, it's hard to tell since we've only lived in this neighborhood a little over a year how much is underway, how much has been halted because of lack of funds or maybe the inability to get a license or
The whole creative class kind of theory where artists go into a rundown neighborhood and they really use the space and they bring vitality back and interest, and they help raise the value of all the properties, and thus the artists can't afford to be there anymore. And
well,
condos and trendy boutiques take over, but it's very healthy for.
it's also called
Well,
gentrification,
it's also called gentrification, but this is
which
the.
has its downsides for already marginalized, vulnerable people. But
So you can see there's a lot of potential for using the space. Here's a blacksmith who's obviously not a sign maker or a brick person, but that's sort of an interesting.
I'm not sure if they're still currently open. I've never seen any activity in and around that place.
That's true, but we don't hang out there too much. But I mean, yeah. So I mean, that's pretty. Makes me think. I mean, this whole building is kind of kept up a bit, so that's just freaky. I mean, that was like, shutter your windows and make them as. I guess they were trying to make them aesthetically appealing, or was it kind of like a?
No, that's to block.
Well, I know, but I mean, it's pretty bright. Looks like some sort of radioactive Christmas decoration.
Yeah, or something. The building just keeps watching you.
Yeah. Hello. And here's more of that sort of archaeology of previous businesses. And
that's an interesting shot.
Yeah, I really like those details in these buildings here because they're very old and they're very well made and it's really, really interesting. And that's the shame. There's more windows in Barton Village full of stuff that I'm not sure what any of that really is. Keep in mind, this is Saturday noon. I'm walking through Saturday at noon. So apparently in Barton Village, Saturday noon is not a big shopping day.
It's closed because he is not there.
I think hoarders are another people who take advantage of affordable real estate. And, now here's some art. Looks like an attempt was made by a previous BIA to beautify the neighborhood with murals. I'm not sure. I mean, this seems like to be a happy coexistence between buildings and cars and trucks. And it's the Red Wings versus Niagara Falls. So Niagara Falls is pretty tough. You know, even a hockey team doesn't have much chance against it.
We really haven't ventured that far.
No, and this is one block in, and there's a lot of closed places. This place could be none more closed, I think.
A couple of padlocks, a couple of signs.
Yeah.
Shuttered windows.
So I thought that was an interesting sign as well. There's that vase and that sculpture. So I mean, it's kind of like, this is kind of an interesting exhibit unto itself, but maybe not on purpose. And there's some generic, online classified site advertised, but that's it. It's the only information. I thought this was a neat installation as well. Paper as furniture.
Obviously, this neighborhood has far too much window gallery activity.
Or not enough, depending on the buildings. And then here are the blue-collar zombies trapped in these buildings. It's very creepy. I'm not sure what this Boy-Barderie.
It's Bombardieri. It's the name of the uniform shop.
Okay, I couldn't read that.
And because Hamilton, people still think of it as steel town, but actually something like fewer than 2% of the jobs here are actually in the steel industry. And Hamilton, like a lot of other cities, largely has a service economy. So this large retail outlet when it comes to, uniforms for various types of service occupations is actually one of the most thriving businesses in this neighborhood.
Huh.
Yeah, there's usually people in and out of the parking lot. I see their van around town. So yeah, they're basically providing uniforms for seriously underpaid, undervalued social service type jobs.
Welcome to Barton Village. I thought that was kind of an interesting colors and textures going on. And then I don't know what this, some sort of secret inside joke maybe. I just thought it was interesting that, you can go and pay for parking in this little municipal parking lot on the side street. Not sure there's any real lack of parking if you spend like 30
I suspect the municipal coffers are not overflowing with parking revenue from Barton Village.
No, I don't.
Just
Again,
a guess.
Another hopeful infrastructure project. Okay, poor boys frozen foods and grocery, and it's closed. And it's like Saturday noon. So
I've never seen that open either. I don't think some of these are simply not open for business.
I think they're gone. Yeah,
They're gone.
they're just kind of
They've
like
been
locked the
closed for
door and
years.
walked off. And there's probably some pretty interesting stuff still stored in some of those stores. Here's an interesting. The rest of this building, there's like satellite dishes everywhere, and I bet they're not even really used anymore.
No, I suspect that's a rooming house.
Yeah, yeah, but still, everyone has their own satellite TV, which is nice. But there's a lot of satellites on these buildings here.
Yeah.
It was all the rage. So there's another one peeking out right there. But these make it very difficult to jaywalk across. But they run down the middle, kind of giving it a boulevard feel. And in the background, you can see one of the many various churches in this town is taking up residence in the neo-Gothic square texture, style cathedral. But they have stained glass doors right back in there. So.
Oh, yeah.
You see that? Yeah. And also it says, if we all pray together, we can save Hamilton.
Is that what that says?
Yeah.
I just appreciate the fact that they chose a sort of aubergine kind of color for their facade.
Okay, so now we're getting into like the signs that they have up. All right, these right here. You can see the stuff right down the middle of the street. You can see somebody enjoying the sidewalk over here.
Well, you know what it says to me? It says that Hamilton's ship has sailed. That's what that's saying to me right now. I don't mean that. I think Hamilton has a lot of potential.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and this is kind of a ridiculous area because this, like where I'm standing right now, literally 45 minutes from the CN Tower. Like when it's not rush hour, I can get in a car to get
to one of the Canadian cities where it is the most expensive to live.
Yeah, please. But these BIA signs for Barton Village, they look like 80s condom wrappers, or and there's kind of this gross gradient and darkness about it that's like, just talks about like dangerous toxins overcoming this like zombie village. It's almost like a horror movie like poster in a way. I mean, that's dark and dusty.
I might not have seen that, but thank you for pointing that out.
Oh boy, oh Hamilton. Yeah. Oh, but I did stop at Duarte's, which apparently a while ago they won $100,000. So instead of moving, they just opened up a sandwich shop.
Oh, the folks won the lottery.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this was their home, so they're going to stay here.
Well, you really can't get that far with $100,000 either. It probably goes a lot farther in Hamilton than anywhere else.
Gets you a sandwich shop. But apparently, I mean...
But good sandwiches.
It was great, yeah. It's really good. Here's the side of a building. I thought it was an interesting contemporary art as well. So I found more art.
The one.
Yeah. Yeah. Here it is on the side profile. And again, here's the police ad.
Built to serve and protect.
But over here is like there's like I said, beautiful architecture. Really, these buildings, and here's some. There's probably an architectural name for those. And here's where the BIA meeting was. Here's what it is. It's a room just off of Nick's Auto Service Muffler Breaks.
They've obviously shown their complicity with the Barton Village signs because it's the same kind of.
It's a Barton Village lifestyle, don't you know?
It took them all of the previous year.
Yeah.
To plan for the signs, and then the year before that, the planters. They can only do one thing a year.
Anyways, I mean, this area's councillor on city is not, I think is not really pro arts kind of guy. He's more one of the old guard. He's been like representing this area for, I guess, 22 years or something like that, and it's horrible.
Our neighborhood, I think, had the lowest voter turnout in Hamilton.
The lowest voter turnout. So I think this guy just has like the set number of people who vote for him, and he's just kind of laughing. So I mean, that doesn't bode very well typically in an area if artists have to work with a councillor like that. And it was kind of suggested during this meeting that we should do something. Artists should do something. Like I should work with the other two artists there for free to do some sort of stuff to prove to this councillor that the arts are a good investment. Yeah. So we could get this like promised maybe money to do arts projects.
Well, and I think it's very important to point out that neither the councillor nor any other members of the BIA that were at this meeting live in Barton Village.
No, none of them actually live.
None of them have any investment to really putting any sort of meaningful time or energy into like revitalizing this neighborhood.
Not in that level.
Hence the carnival.
But like I said, I was kind of being an overwhelming asshole in a way, because really at its core, I think what it was.
I can't imagine you being that way.
No. But I think these people were just looking for studio space, and this BIA person was helping them, and that's like cool. So here's the beautiful condom horror movie wrapper.
Various shades of salmon.
Barton, the salmon.
Freshly spawning salmon. Salmon past its prime.
Salmon never came back to this day.
Oh. Oh. Well, that's a metaphor for Barton Village right there.
Yeah.
Sorry looking plants.
This is actually a good mural. This was another one I found. It's my second favorite piece I found in the area, actually. It's kind of weird because, I mean, there's like these, in focus skateboarding kids looking at sort of an old-timey construction or demolition or something.
Lots of scaffolding.
It's very hopeful. Okay, here's the killing your cyclist like death trap for any neighborhood. See, I'm biking along here. Oh, look, I'm forced to go into traffic. Gone.
Yeah, you get sort of squeezed between the curb and Hamilton's number of large vehicles. There are lots of very large vehicles in Hamilton.
I mean, what were they thinking when they did that? I'm just shocked.
Car culture.
Stunningly awful, and to really, this one of the key components if you want creative industry in your community to be that part of the plan to revitalize it, is to establish excellent public transport and bicycle lanes. You have to have clear bicycle lanes.
Oh yeah,
thoroughfare.
That's all parking. That was all sort of built for parking, because there was this anticipated sort of surge in business that would carry over from the revitalizing James Street North area. They were hoping that would spill a little bit further east into Barton Village, so they created all the parking spots. But all the businesses, or most of the businesses, are not in operation, so it was just...
Yeah, it's a joke fest. And this building, again, this is like abandoned, rambling complex that...
Well, I was going to say, if you go back, I like the juxtaposition of, you can't see it now, but the sunny, optimistic Barton flag right next to the really, really rundown house. Those two just worlds apart.
Yeah, it's this. I don't know. There's not. Yeah, this is definitely an artist conception, I think. This would be a great place to put some work.
A mural of your window gallery.
A mural of my window gallery. It's for sale. I like this because Einstein was peeking out. Here's more the view down here. I was wandering onto the street, taking photos and taking my life in my hands.
I need to make a comment here, though. I am not opposed to certain aesthetic upgrades in a neighborhood, right? I mean, there have been stories in some really dangerous communities, let's say in Central America, where they've taken what was a parking lot or sort of a rundown park with a big wall on the side, and they've had artists come in and paint a gorgeous mural. And it's basically just the presence of that mural has transformed that space. People want to be there now. The more people there are hanging out, the safer it becomes. So making just a small aesthetic upgrade to an otherwise, dangerous spot in a sort of rundown or sort of economically marginalized neighborhood can have a huge impact, can have a big effect. But they went about it the wrong way in Barton Village. They didn't consult the right people to think of what the community needed. Even a low-cost aesthetic upgrade, they didn't consult the community, and I think they went the wrong way.
Yeah.
But I'm not opposed to aesthetic upgrades as a way to catalyze change for a neighborhood.
And there's that story about that happened in New York, I guess, in some areas. They put up fake windows in front of all the broken ones.
Oh, I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah.
And did that generate a positive effect?
Apparently it did. One of the artists at the meeting said that in Europe, on one side of this kind of boulevard, they'd have parking, and on the other, it'd be a two-way bike lane.
Yeah.
Which seems to be very reasonable. So.
And which is much more commonplace in a city like Montreal, where there's a far better cycling infrastructure.
There's a lot of houses in Hamilton with like a warehouse kind of attached in the back, so there's like that live-work kind of...
Yeah. We're so proximate to the industrial sector here.
So apparently this is private.
Keep out. Well, okay.
Okay. Are you
no
sure?
Problem.
This was my favorite piece that I found.
Oh yeah, that one.
Well, it's someone that I guess they just did that for their advertise their laundry, but it just makes me feel happy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dancing clothes.
Dancing clothes. So it's a nice painting.
That looks like it's starting to show some promise.
Well, I know. I mean, you just kind of zip through. You're using your peripheral vision to judge it. It's kind of nice. Okay, now here's an interesting contemporary display of colors and shapes. And again, Saturday afternoon.
Giant Post-it
It's
notes.
closed. You get a little closer. Oh, here's just some dirt on the.
Those look like discarded poo bags.
Yeah, and there's like just butts and garbage and everything everywhere.
Yeah.
But here we are closer. It has specials on salt fish as well as biblical quotes and lessons about God and a sale on the bottom. So, you know, at least they have the good sense to put the Bible quote at the top and the stuff for sale just below it, not the other way around.
I don't want my fish to be heathens.
No, because God's pleased by this. He wouldn't be pleased with the poster arrangement another way. Now, see, this was turned into a business and it looks like it's been turned back into a house. So this layer of history to it. And these are kind of nice, interesting, like structures, you know, just different uses and directions. More closed storefront, but
yeah, there's like multiple zoning things happening here.
Yeah.
Like you've got commercial and residential all wrapped up into one sort of what looks like a single dwelling house, but is probably was storefront and then apartment upstairs.
This would make a nice gallery.
It's kind of classic, I guess. But that would make a nice gallery.
So here's an actual artist gallery and / studio, the Tiger Group Studio Gallery. So I went in. They were very interesting, you know, and so they're all like they're you know very you know good and painters and well trained. But it's probably a pretty good deal for having a studio and a space where you can potentially sell stuff. And I just thought that was an interesting.
A parquet.
It's just a non-useful space in almost any way.
You know what that screams to me? Urban garden.
Yeah, I mean, it would need some stuff done to it, but
like leaching toxins out of the soil.
So there's a sort of a space-time, science fiction-y kind of closed storefront, and this right here, of course, is a advertisement for the local MP.
Oh, yeah.
Doing a hell of a job, buddy. Yeah.
Treasures. Oh, that's beautiful. And then the slightly askew hockey sign.
Yeah. But you know, again, there's signs that there's stuff happening because right in here there was somebody renovating that space.
Right.
Hard at work.
You'll notice down here that Hamilton has converted a lot of its parking meters to 2 hours of free parking.
Yeah, well,
they've just done that very recently.
I was going to go up to the big mall up in the escarpment, but since there's free parking offered in Barton Village, I went there
and
instead.
Lots of treasures available.
There's definitely hidden treasures. Like perhaps behind here, but you'll never get through. And this was really interesting. Some sort of weird double store facade going on. So there's like a little area they're putting flowers and stuff. So you can see
they certainly get a little
storm
sunlight.
windows. Yeah, someone's actually putting flowers in there, which is great.
Did it look residential on the inside?
No, there's empty. Thought that was again. This must have been interesting. Maybe it was part of the stables.
Right.
Or probably just a warehouse with a lot of places to wheel up.
Oh,
that was definitely an old
mini
business.
House.
That's turned into a little house. Mm-hmm. Facade. Again, not open for business. Padlock. Empty.
Well, there is no business currently happening there.
No. And another really interesting composition of textures and shapes. Oh, that's closed. That's closed. But see this little sign in the window? Parking at rear building. If you have some questions, feel free to ask and come in to browse. Can't find what you want? Talk to whoever works and ask them. So it's got some really helpful advice for the empty store. I was getting a picture of the garbage can because there's very few garbage cans in the area because it's, you know, having, you know, less garbage cans means there's less garbage, right? You look in, there's not even a garbage bag. They're just empty. Yeah. More satellite dishes and storefronts turned into
hasty residences.
More
Yeah.
Empty. Another big satellite dish in the back. So the search for extraterrestrial life continues in Barton Village. All right, so now we're sort of coming out of it. I think it's worse, if you can believe it, but not before it gets better by a lot of people's standards, because there's the new hospital, Hamilton General Hospital. And it's
just a hop, skip, and a jump away from the penitentiary.
the penitentiary is just past that. So is the drive-through beer store. But this is apparently giving the real lift to the area. So there's the corner of that. So you're kind of coming out of that area. Now Barton Street's a really big, long street, and what we just went through is one of the better areas. If you go east of where we went, it gets worse than that.
Yeah.
If you can believe it.
With maybe one block pockets. Like there's a pocket where there's a bunch of Polish bakeries and
there's a couple good bakeries.
And that's slightly nicer.
Look, an empty lot. Again, just almost completely, utterly useless for any purpose.
I think that's actually acting as the garbage can.
Yeah. Put your spare gravel and napkins here. There is, again, more signs of interesting development. That's a nice old schoolhouse, really nice. Looks like, I think it has residences.
It's been turned into condos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's associated with the hospital.
Folks who are like doing their residency at the hospital, I think.
And it's well fenced. There's the it kind of looks like the Weston building from the beginning of this thing.
Yeah, look at all those shoppers on the.
Look at them shopping, and they're like zombies coming out of the industrial chemical factory.
Yeah, in the gray haze of a post-industrial.
There's a real holiday spirit here. And
That's top marks for the best Christmas decorations of 2011.
This house wins. So to sum up, I think the BIA's got some work to do. I think things can't be meaningfully changed here until there's new political leadership in the area that's more arts and culture friendly.
Yeah, and maybe until there's more artists working for free.
Until more artists working for free. Or, that's more interesting ideas than decorating business windows.
Your vision for this neighborhood includes a paycheck for yourself.
That's right.
Fair enough.
And so it'll be interesting because there's so much potential here. It's so close, and there are some really, really nice our neighbors and friends in this area, but it's going to take a little time. But when it happens, it'll be really enjoyable to check out this slideshow again.
Good night.
Good night.